Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Sharda Cropchem 4Q FY21 post-results conference call hosted by Antique Stock Broking. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star, then 0 on your touchtone telephone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Manish Mahawar from Antique Stock Broking. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Belisa. On behalf of Antique Stock Broking, I would like to welcome all the participants on the call of Sharda Cropchem. From the management, we have Mr. R.V. Bubna, Chairman and Managing Director, Mr. Ashok Vashisht, CFO, and Mr. Dinesh Nahar, General Manager Finance on the call. Without further ado, I would like to hand over the call to Mr. Bubna for opening comments, post which we will open the floor for question and answer. Thank you, and over to you, Mr. Bubna.
Thank you, Mr. Manish. I welcome all the participants in this conference call. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to everyone present here for the earnings call of Sharda Cropchem Limited for Q4 and FY21. Sharda Cropchem is represented by myself, Ram Prakash Bubna, Chairman and Managing Director, our Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Ashok Vashisht, and Mr. Dinesh Nahar, General Manager Finance. Talking briefly about our FY21 results. Revenues grew by 19.6% from 2003 crores in FY20 to 2396 crores in FY21, mainly due to growth in Europe by 20.2%, NAFTA 23.6%, and LATAM by 30.6%. There was a decline in rest of the world by 3.7%. During FY21, our agrochemical and non-agrochemical mix stood at 86% agrochemical and 14% non-agrochemicals. Agrochemicals business grew by 22.2%. Europe grew by 20%, NAFTA by 26%, LATAM by 24.6%, and rest of the world grew by 17.1%. So there was a growth in all the four regions for agrochemical business. Non-agrochemicals business grew by 6%. This is comprising of Europe 22.4%, NAFTA 12.7%, LATAM 87.1%. On the other hand, rest of the world degrew by 33.4%. The company continues to strengthen its product portfolio by prudently investing in new product registrations and enlarging the level on the existing registrations. Sharda Cropchem's total product registration stood at 2,543 in the FY21. Additionally, the company has 1,128 product registrations in pipeline. The CapEx during FY21 stood at 309 crores versus rupees 162 crores in FY20. We are pleased to share that Board of Directors of the company have recommended a final dividend of rupees 3 per share, taking the total dividend payout for FY21 to rupees 5 per share as compared to rupees 4 per share last year. With this brief overview, I would like now to hand over the call to our CFO, Mr. Ashok Vashisht, for discussing our financial performance. Mr. Ashok.
Thank you, Mr. Bubna. A very good evening to all of you and thanks for joining the call. So I will take you through the financial performance of the company for FY21. So during FY21, revenue grew by 19.6% on year-on-year basis. This was mainly driven by very strong volume growth at 21.5%, and during the year, exchange gains was also favorable to the tune of 6%, and we were having adverse mix and price impact of around 8%. So in a nutshell, the revenue growth is essentially driven by volume growth, which was 21.5% year-on-year basis. So if we talk about gross profits, so we grew by 23.6% from 614 crore in FY20 last year to 760 crore in this year FY21. So in terms of gross margin basis, so we grew by 104 BPS from 30.7% in last year to 31.7% FY21, driven by volume and overall on a yearly basis product mix. In terms of geographical mix, so Europe and NAFTA continue to be the growth engines for Sharda Cropchem. And when we talk about EBITDA percentages performance, so they're also in line with the revenue growth and volume growth. We delivered EBITDA of 455 crore against 351 crore in FY20. So in terms of growth, so it's very high double digit at 29.8% on year-on-year basis, and we have expanded EBITDA percent margin by 150 BPS to 19% in FY21. So if we talk about profit after tax, so profit after tax for FY21 was at 229 crore from 165 crore which we delivered last year. So a very impressive growth of 39.2% in terms of PAT. So if we talk about cash profits, so we reached 400 crores in FY21 in comparison to 302 crore last year. So thereby further strengthening of the balance sheet of the company. In terms of working capital efficiencies, so we were at 86 days against 74 days. So actually if we little break up the net working capital, which you might have seen in our investor presentation. So there is a mainly driven by accounts payable, wherein we have done some early payments. Otherwise, in terms of inventories and accounts receivable, we continue to be efficient and deliver the working capital targets. So with this, we now open the floor for questions. So thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may enter star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If your questions have been answered and you wish to withdraw yourself from the queue, you may enter star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. To ask a question, you may enter star and 1. We have the first question from the line of Rohit Nagraj from Sunidhi Securities. Please go ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity, and congrats on good set of numbers for Q4 as well as overall for the financial year 21. So the first question is, post the quarter, have we seen any kind of disruptions in terms of our product or raw material availability, as well as in terms of dispatches, because we have been hearing the second COVID wave and the logistics because of which have been impacted both locally as well as globally. So have we seen any kind of such disruptions happening post the quarter in current quarter? Thank you.
No, sir. As you have seen, as you must have heard from the media, first of all, our business model is we are sourcing most of our raw materials from China. And you must have heard through the media that China has not been impacted by this second wave of COVID at all. And China's economy has grown in this period as compared to the rest of the world. So there has not been any disruptions post this quarter in China, and the current quarter is running very smoothly.
Understood. That's good to hear. So the second question is in terms of the growth which we have seen in Q4. So was this particular growth driven partially by inventory restocking because the channel inventories probably were lower, and that's why we have seen such a massive, almost 25% kind of growth. So is there any element of inventory restocking, or is it a natural growth because of overall good sentiment across the market? The commodity prices have been good, and agri-commodity particularly, the prices have been quite vibrant globally. So that has benefited the overall growth. Thank you.
I think this growth has been mainly driven by our product mix, our getting new registrations, and getting deeper entry into the markets. The psychology overall has been subdued because of this COVID-19, but agrochemicals and agriculture have been receiving priorities by the public as well as the authorities and the governments. So there have not been any adverse impact of the lockdowns on the agricultural activities, including manufacture and supply of agrochemicals around the world. And since 98% of our actions are outside India, the company has not also been affected by the impact of COVID-19, and the growth has been in the normal economic function, greater approach to the market, and better product mix.
Thank you, sir. That's good to know, and best of luck. If I have any questions, I'll come back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rohit.
Thank you. Participants, if you have a question, you may enter star and 1. We have the next question from the line of Soumya V from Spark Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thanks for the opportunity. Sir, first question is on the gross margin. So in the current quarter, there is a decline in gross margins, and in the presentation you had referred to, this is to do with the product mix. Can you help us understand a bit more on this? I mean, you had mentioned that last year the product mix was more favorable. And also as a follow-up, how do you look at gross margin going forward, especially in the context of rising Chinese technical prices?
See, if you compare only quarter 4, then there is a decline in the gross margin, because the gross margin in quarter 4 of previous year was exceptionally high. But if you take the total year's performance, then the gross margin is better than last year. So quarter 4 of last year was exceptionally better, and we are starting from an exceptional base. That is why there is a apparent decline in the gross margin for this quarter. Have I been able to explain you?
Yes, sir. Just one follow-up on that. So how do we look at, I mean, was there any impact in terms of rising RM prices in this quarter? Or have you seen anything in the month of April, May? And how is the price increase that's been generally taken up by the global majors? How is that happening across geographies?
I'm not aware that the multinationals are taking any price increase. But if the multinationals do increase the prices, then Sharda Cropchem will be benefited. Because we don't decide our selling prices independently on our own. We are only following the footsteps of the multinationals. We cannot go away from their strategy that it is not in our interest to reduce the prices, and we can't increase the prices beyond certain limit, because we cannot exceed the prices of the multinationals. The market always has preference for the multinationals who have been there in the business for so many years. So to answer your question, the
yes, sir. Helpful.
price trends have been very steady and normal.
helpful, sir. Sir, and on the input prices for you in terms of raw material prices, so you have seen an increase in prices in the last few months, sir?
That was there, but I think that is also getting tempered down in the very recent past. Availability is there and the prices are getting tamed.
Okay, so if I get it right, so you're saying there was an increase, but now it is kind of getting a bit slowed down on that level.
Yeah, it is a dynamic situation. Sometimes they tend to increase and sometimes they tend to come down. Right now the price levels are very normal and flat.
Got it, sir. Sir, and just a question on the Q4. Can you just provide the volume, price, and FX mix as you gave for FY21?
1 minute. The volume in Q4 21 was 71,73,000 can be kilograms or liters, as compared to 54,27,000 in the Q4 2020. For NAFTA region, the volume has been 62,40,000 compared to 42,01,000 in the FY20. There is an increase of 48.5%. In LATAM, the volume has been 5,72,700 as compared to 5,07,000, which is an increase of 12.9%. And the rest of the world, the volume has been 8,75,500 as compared to 7,58,000, which is about a growth of 15.5%. Overall, the volume has been 1,48,60,000 as compared to 1,08,93,000, an overall growth of 36.4%. I have finished. Hello?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I was just, I'm not sure if I missed it earlier. You had mentioned it. I was looking for also the volume, price, and FX percentage for Q4, YOY percentage.
Volume, price. So Mr. Ashok will answer this question.
Yeah. So actually, if you see, as we explained, Mr. Bubna, the volume is higher by 36%, but then there was a price and mix impact nearly 17%. Then there was a favorable forex impact nearly 5%. So overall, the growth which you are seeing in terms of revenue is coming 24% for Q4.
Right, sir. Helpful. Thank you, sir. I'll join back in the queue.
Yeah.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a question, please enter star and 1. We have the next question from the line of Rajiv Sehgal, an investor. Please go ahead. As there is no response from this line, we'll move to the next question. We have the next question from the line of Rohan Gupta from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Bubna ji, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Rohanji.
Sir, 2 questions from my side. Sir, first is on our growth. Sir, we have seen that many players in the global market, they have shown a huge growth in Latin America market. But our growth, sir, is primarily driven by Europe and NAFTA. So can you just throw some light that are we focusing only on these geographies and cautiously not increasing our sales from Latin America market, or there is a growth challenges in that market?
Rohanji, in Latin America, there are some issues, political turmoil and economic setbacks. So the exchange rates are also, the currencies are going down against the dollar, and because of the general economic stress, the payments are not very regular. There are delays in the payments, and people are not buying big quantities. So all these effects have a natural tendency of Latin America business getting slower. As against that, Europe's economy is strong and stable, and so is the case with NAFTA. Thirdly, we are investing very heavily on the registrations, and the compliance of rules and regulations are strictest in Europe and then in the NAFTA region. In Latin America, there is some laxity in implementation of the rules of regulations. So some people take advantage of this situation and bring some products and thereby reduce the margins, sell it at a lower price. So the margins also get subdued in the Latin America. So these are the three factors which drive the growth of the business for Sharda.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Participants, if you have a question, you may enter star and 1. We have the next question from the line of Sachin Kasera from Swan Investments. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir, and congrats for a good set of numbers.
Mr. Kasera, I'm sorry to interrupt. We are unable to hear you clearly, sir. The audio
is it better now?
Yes, it's better. Thank you.
Yeah. Congrats, sir, and for a good set of numbers. I had a couple of questions. First was, you mentioned in this previous query that we have been making heavy investments in the registration, and because of which, this heavy investment last 2-3 years, the cash in the balance sheet has not increased significantly because most of the cash flow is going there. So is it now a new and permanent feature for our company, or this is like a temporary phase of 2-3 years, and then in the next 1-2 years, slowly this will come down and we will start to make good cash flows once again, and the cash in the balance sheet will go up?
Sir, I would say that the process of investment into the registration is more or less a continuous process. We have still a lot of scope to enter deeper into the market, and for deeper entry we require good product mix, and the registration process in Europe is becoming more and more expensive, more and more strict. So I feel that at least for the next few years, our investment into the registrations will continue. It is also not totally decided by the companies or its management. There are many factors which influence the investment into the registration. One is the progress of the process of registration. Sometimes the progress takes place at a normal speed, sometimes it gets subdued because of many factors beyond the control, because of bureaucracy is involved, because of the weather situation, when the field, or sometimes the influx of the diseases. So the process of registration has a lot of uncertainty. I would say, if you ask me to reply in a very simple way, the investment into the registrations will be in the range of about 200 to 250 crores for the next 2-3 years.
But sir, in that scenario, if we see from a 335 crores cash in the balance sheet, the cash has come down to almost 260, 270. And last 2 years, we have not made any significant cash flows post investment to the registrations. Even our margins have come down and our return on capital is going down. So if we are going to work on this model, then the cash will keep on depleting and the returns will keep coming down. So over the medium term, how do we create value for the shareholders in such a change business model scenario?
I will ask Mr. Ashok to reply to this question.
Yeah, Ashok this side. Actually, the point which you are making is a very valid point. But the investment which we are putting is for securing the accelerated growth. So when we are investing, so like this year, 300 crores, around 300 crores, and which will continue. So obviously the incremental revenue and financial KPIs will be much better. So we would be, in fact, contrary to what you are saying, we would be actually strengthening the cash with that. And that is the reason. That is this company is the key DNAs, expand market in the geographies, basically which are, complex and where there are entry barriers. So which is actually helping us, in terms of getting accelerated growth. So we actually foresee that with all these investments, the cash position will become much better.
So can we assume that at least for the next
in terms of cash and cash equivalent, in comparison to last year, so the cash and cash equivalent was 269 crore, which went up to 343 crore as at 31st March 2021. So actually it has strengthened. Which I
no, sir, we have to look at the net debt number, no, sir? Because the debt has, last year there was no debt, this year is also 68 crores of debt. So if I compare vis-a-vis to your presentation in 2019, your cash and cash equivalent was 335 and debt was 0. And if I adjust for the debt, then net cash and cash equivalent has gone down.
Even if we can touch offline. 268 crore was the cash and cash equivalent. So even if you reduce temporary debt, so which is temporary only, so still it is on high side in spite of 100 crores more investment than this year.
Okay. And sir, can you give us some sense on the margins? It has come down from 22% in FY17 to 17.5% last year. This year some improvement to 19%. So can we see, when do we see this going back to that 22-23% that we used to enjoy 4-5 years back, or this 18-19% is the new normal for us?
See, product mix is playing a big role and geographical expansion. So in fact now we are very near to 20%. So I think we can't say when it will be, but we can say definitely the margin would be better. The kind of growth which we are foreseeing, and obviously the cost will be incremental only. So it would be better and better.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Participants, if you have a question, you may enter star and 1. We have the next question from the line of Rajiv Sehgal, an investor. Please go ahead.
Good evening. Congratulations to the management on a very commendable set of numbers. If we compare the performance for FY20 and FY21, there are two line items which have a very significant variation. One is the foreign exchange gain or loss, and the second is the tax expense. I'd like the management to kindly explain the reasons for such significant variation, and does the company have a hedging policy, and do you expect similar variation in the current financial year as well on account of these two line items? Thank you.
The foreign exchange gain and loss is totally a function of cross-currency exchange rates between dollar and various currencies, which cannot be predicted and which is not decided by any company on its own. Our business model, if you have seen, most of the buying is done in dollars from China, but the sales are in the local currencies. In Europe, most of our sales are in euros. So last year, the euro-dollar exchange rate was varying from 1.05 to 1.1. This time it is varying around 1.2. So if I am selling at the same euro prices, we have a natural increase in the margin for almost 10% in this year. So these are the factors which are leading. Similarly, in the case of Canadian currency or Mexican pesos, all these cross-currency exchange rates have a direct impact on our margins, which cannot be predetermined or controlled by us. Your next question was about the tax. Now again, the tax liability, there have been an increase in the tax rate by the government of India.
So actually, last year I just answered that question. Last year, there was change in the corporate tax rate. So last year we got one-time impact in terms of reduction in the tax liabilities in line with the new rates. So the rate which is coming for this year, so there is you will see significant difference because of the one-time benefit which we got last year, and this year it is normal. So the tax rate would be in line with the current year FY21 tax rates for us, until unless there is new change in any tax regulations.
Thank you, Mr. Sehgal.
Thank you.
Thank you. Participants, if you have a question, you may enter star and 1. We have the next question from the line of Himanshu Binani from Antique Stock Broking. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you for taking my question. So, sir, I have some questions on the bookkeeping side. So, basically, wanted to understand on the gross margins region-wise. So, can you please help us with that?
Yes, please. The gross margin region-wise is Europe 38.7% this year compared to 37.1% last year. So there is an increase this year. NAFTA 25.1% compared to 24.2%. Latin America 25.2% compared to 28.1%. Here there is a slight marginal dip. And rest of the world, it is 26.5% compared to 25% last year. Overall, it is 31.7% this year compared to 30.7% last year. So an increase of 1% on the normal way, and percentage-wise, it will be about 3%.
Right, sir.
Yes, sir.
Can you please share the registration pipeline also, the registration breakup region-wise, as well as the pipeline region-wise?
Yes, sir. The registrations this year is 2,543, and the breakup is Europe 1,326, NAFTA 236, LATAM 744, and rest of the world 237. Total 2,543. Now you asked the question of registrations in the pipeline. Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The registrations in the pipeline are Europe 760, NAFTA 133, LATAM 167, and rest of the world 68. Total 1,128.
Right, sir. Right. And sir, I do have one more question basically. So, on the growth guidance, how do one see basically in the next few years basically? So, how can one look at the growth for the company going forward?
Sir, the growth is expected to be in the range of 10 to 15%. And as you have explained continuously, there are many factors in our business which are very difficult to predict, forecast, and control. And one of them is the weather. So, the weather plays a very important role in the growth and demand of our products. Cross-currency exchange rates decides the margins, and some factors like corona or anything which may impact, like say corona's biggest impact on Sharda's business has been the cost of logistics. The freight rates in the last 6 months have gone up to about more than 400% compared to last year. Sea freights, air freights, and surface transports in Europe and NAFTA region. These could not have been predicted, and we hope these will come down when the situations moves more towards normalcy. But overall, we can say that it's going to grow around 10 to 15%.
Right. And sir, one last question, if I may. So we have seen intangible write-offs, which has been now a constant basis, basically, which we are seeing. So in FY19, we have almost around 42 crores. In FY20, 55 crore. And then in FY21, it's almost around 38 odd crores. So going forward, how one may look at this number, basically? So what can be the number, basically? So if you can throw some light out.
Mr. Himanshu, nobody can give you a trend or precise information. Again, these are depending upon the factors as the time passes. Now, these are decided by the auditors and our team put together about the use of a particular asset and many factors which are decided during the course of the year and difficult to predict in advance. But it will be in the range of the same range, maybe 30, 40, 50 crores. Sometimes the government authorities ban some registrations. Now we already made the investments. So these cannot be predicted in advance.
Sure, sir.
Have I answered your question, sir?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a question, you may enter star and 1. We have the next question from the line of Sameer Deshpande from Fair Deal Investments. Please go ahead.
Good evening, sir. And
Good evening.
Congratulations for the excellent results the company has posted. Actually, because of the tax effect, the real growth in profit seems to be a bit understated. Actually, the profit before tax for this year has gone up by 67%. Whereas at the net level, because of the higher tax this year, the profit seems to have growth seems to have subdued a bit. But I would like to know two things regarding this guidance you have given regarding sales. What is the expected level of operating margins going forward?
Operating margins would remain more or less flat.
Around 18.5 to 19% or so?
Yes, please.
Because currently they are 18.7 or so. So
we are in the same range. You can say you have very rightly answered the question, 18 to 19% or 17.5 to 18, 19.5.
Okay. And now regarding our inventory, it has gone up substantially this year, say about 150 crores, and debtors have gone up by about 173 crores. So it is due to the rise in sales these things are happening, or the inventories are built for any particular reason?
There is no particular or specific reason, Mr. Sameer. These are the factors. You also answered part of my question. With the growth in the revenue and wider coverage of the markets, we have to keep the inventories available. And secondly, our business is a seasonal business.
Yeah.
And when the demand comes, they want the product the next day. And our business cycle is that if we want to sell a product in a particular region in NAFTA or in European, we have to plan at least 3 months in advance.
Yeah.
So that is why we have to keep to in the safer side and sell more. We have to keep higher inventories. And what was the second question?
And the other question is regarding this other intangible assets and intangible assets under development. This is the expenditure we incur for new registrations and compliances, etc. Which is that figure mainly?
Yes, please.
So there, once it is everything is completed, you write off about 30-40 crores, which you mentioned every year.
Yes, please.
And now with the new government regulations, since the goodwill write-off is not allowed as expenditure, so what is the rule for this intangible asset write-off? Is there any change?
Do we have any goodwill intent?
We have 43 lakhs. 43 lakhs.
See, our goodwill, Mr. Ashok informs me that goodwill is about 43 lakhs, which is very insignificant.
No.
I don't have a significant investment in the goodwill intangible assets.
So we may take a call. It will not impact our business much. I mean, balance sheet much. So.
No. I don't want to know about goodwill. I am saying other intangible assets write-off where that the expenditure is allowed for income tax. No?
It is not goodwill. That is actually write-off. So for tangible asset, it is allowed. Yes.
So that is normal. It is allowed for income tax. No change in it.
Sorry, we could not get you. Can you repeat again? Last sentence.
What I was asking, for goodwill, the government has not allowed this from this year, the write-off for goodwill as allowable expenditure. But that doesn't have any effect for our write-off of other intangible assets, which we are writing off.
Let me clarify. Our intangible assets write-off doesn't include goodwill at all. So it's purely intangible assets, IPR, and which is allowed. So goodwill, we have not written off any goodwill actually. So as of now, it's a very small amount in our books, so which is coming around 40 billion.
And are we getting this the earlier export incentives, which has been cancelled by the government from January? That is the MEIS scheme. Were we getting any export incentives in 2021?
You are Mr. Samir speaking?
Yes.
Mr. Samir, if you study our business model, we do not do any exports. We are doing mainly third country sales. Exports means sourcing from India and sending the products out of India. Our sourcing of products from India is hardly 2 to 3% of the total business volume. So this doesn't affect or impact our business model, this way or that way.
Thank you, and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Participants, if you have a question, you may enter star and 1. We have the next question from the line of Rohan Gupta from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Bhumnaji, thank you, and thanks for the follow-up question. Bhumnaji, this is on this rising agri commodity prices globally. So we have seen that from soybean to corn, all the prices have gone up globally. As you've also mentioned that we generally have competition from all these innovators like Bayer and all. So do you see that with the rising agri commodity prices, these companies, innovators, are going to take the benefit and going to increase the prices for their products, or any such indication which can help us also taking the price increases?
Rohanji, I think this question can be better answered by the innovators and not us. Only I can comment is, if the prices of the agro commodities are rising up, then there will be better cash flow in the hands of users of agrochemicals and farmers. So if they are comfortable with their liquidity, it will impact our business by receiving payments on time or before time on some incentives, which is a good thing for the company. So it will have an indirect impact. Now, if the multinationals take advantage of the situation of increasing the prices with the availability of cash flow with the farmers, it will also in fact affect us positively, because we'll follow the trend what the multinationals do.
Right. Sir, on the same extension, you rightly said that farmers will have a better cash flow in their hands. Can it lead to reverse situation also if the multinationals don't increase the prices, and we are a generic company with almost 20 to 30% discount selling to these innovators? Have you ever seen that in history of a business, that if the farmers have a very solid cash flow in their hands, and if the multinationals don't increase the prices, they continue to do that, is there a chance that the farmers can go back to the innovators or the higher brand from generic? Can it happen, sir?
No, sir, I don't think that trend is. The farmers are smart and intelligent. They know that our product is as effective as the innovator's product. It is approved by the authorities of their countries. So in terms of benefit in the farm level, there is not much of a difference. And farmers are very smart. They would like to save as much money as they can, even if they have a better cash flow. That cash flow is not there to throw away as a charity to the multinational companies. So I don't think that's going to happen. This is just a guess. Okay.
So second question is on China situation. So you said that China has not been impacted at all by the second wave, and the manufacturing operations there are smooth. But we have seen that many input prices, chemical prices have gone up sharply in last 3 to 4 months. What is the impact of these rising input prices in our company or our product? We have also seen such kind of price increase, and what is the price increase, extent of the price increase for raw material which we are buying?
Rohanji, that situation is there only in few products, individual products. We were talking about the trend. There are some products which are in short supply, and they are in short supply because of specific reasons for each product. Non-availability of the raw materials. Now, maybe those raw materials are coming out of mining or some such things. So because of some factors which is not in the hands of anybody, and the prices are going up because of the reduction in the production capacity, mainly because of non-availability of the raw materials, as we understand. And that situation cannot last for very long. Everywhere there are industrialists involved, and people find a way, people find some solutions to these problems. So this is not going to continue for many years. I think this will be for a very short-term period. Overall, the situation will improve. Overhead costs are increasing. As I have told you, the cost of fuel, petrol, diesel, transportation, and a lot of these things are increasing, and they are having impact also on the product at the manufacturer level and at the distributor level and registration holder level. But this also cannot continue for very long. For a container that we were paying $1,500 to $2,000 earlier, freight, we are paying about $6,000, $7,000 or $8,000 because of the non-availability of the container space, non-availability of the ships, and these ships are not being moving because of mainly the corona factors this way or that way. But this will improve, this will change. These are not manipulated things. These are happening because of the circumstances.
Okay. But sir, are we in a position to pass on this rising input cost, or there will be some short-term pressure on the market?
I didn't hear the last part of your sentence. Or
sir, I was saying that this rising input cost, rising raw material prices, we will be able to pass it on in terms of raising prices, or there will be pressure on margins, sir, in near term?
Both. Wherever we are able to pass on, as I have told you, because the multinationals cannot afford to keep on paying from their pocket. If they are having higher costs, they would definitely pass on to the consumers, and we will follow the trend. Sometimes, because of this situation, if the product is not available, it's in short supply, then we are able to pass it on very easily to the customers. And the customers, fortunately, they know everything and they don't grumble much. In case of our non-agro business, freight is forming a very important part of the cost. So many times, even after concluding of the contracts, when we approach the consumers that, look here, this was the freight, sea freight earlier, this is the sea freight now. After some negotiations, they do come forward and offer to share that cost 50%, 60% or even more, because they also need the goods. Okay. So in many cases, we are able to pass on. Even
so we will be able to pass on, and there will be no impact on margins in near term.
Yes, so more or less, yes.
Okay. So just last question from my side. Sir, you mentioned there was roughly 300 crore kind of capex for this year.
Pardon me?
Sir, you mentioned, I think, roughly 300 crore rupees kind of capex for this year.
Yes, please.
Okay. So how much of that will be for the re-registration, and how much is likely for the new registration? If you can just give some breakup of that.
Sir, this is capex. I think re-registration doesn't come under capital expenditure. Only the new registrations fall under the capital expenditure. Re-registration is coming under revenue expenditure.
No, sir. Every year, sir, the money which we spend on registration,
Sir, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have participants in queue.
Okay, thank you. I will come back in for any follow-up.
We can talk about it later, Rohan.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. We have the next question from the line of Sameer Deshpande from Fair Deal Investments. Please go ahead.
Hello. Sir, I wanted to know regarding the tax rate. This time our tax rate is around 26%. So will that be the same going forward?
Yes, that will be more or less the same. Last year we got one-time benefit because of change in the corporate tax rates, wherein we have to revalue our deferred tax liabilities, and it was one-time benefit, and tax rate was too low at maybe around 9%. So it will be in this range only, which is for FY21 going forward.
And now regarding the earlier participant was asking the question which I also want to know. The new product registrations we take in various countries, and for that purpose we have to spend the certain money and all those things. But these intangible assets is what is exactly the things which go under that intangible assets?
Please be a little more detailed, Mr. Sameer.
Okay.
So anything that is going up to, satisfy the requirements of the authorities, including lab trials, lab sample testing by approved laboratories, field trials, and a lot of activities. All those things are going under registration expenses.
And that goes under intangibles, and once it is finally commercialized, when you start selling, you write it off.
No. See, till we receive the registration, the expenditures are classified under capital work in progress.
Okay.
After we receive the registration in our hand, and we are able to start taking use of it by selling. So the day we have the asset created, and asset gets created when we get the registration certificate in our hand.
Yes.
On that that point of time, it gets capitalized.
And charge off in 5 years. Depreciation.
That is a return of over a period of?
5 years.
It's a depreciated basically, not written off, depreciated.
Okay, depreciated over a period of 4 years.
5 years. 5 years.
5. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the last question. I would like to hand the floor back to Mr. Manish Mahawar for closing comments. Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Melissa. On behalf of Antique Stock Broking, I would like to thank the team of Sharda Cropchem for providing us an opportunity to host the call. Bhuvna ji, would you like to make a closing comment, sir?
No. I would like to thank all the participants who have joined and who have put in so much of intelligent questions, which also help us to look at the business in a more intelligent way. So we are very thankful to all the participants who have joined us. And if any participant who feels that the time was not enough and he has additional questions, he can contact us later on telephone or by email or correspondence. We'll be very happy to answer their questions, and it has been a very enlightening conference call for us.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, management. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Antique Stock Broking, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam.